while, and as you can see, I still haven't decorated like the other half of the room. But yeah, I haven't been on here for, I want to say a month, but it's probably a bit longer. I've had a lot to deal with. I ended up back in hospital, and I've just had so much going on in my personal life, and I wish I could talk about it with you guys, but unfortunately I can't. Not yet anyway. But yeah, I've had a lot going on. So as you guys know, I am still awaiting for colorectal to deal with the proctogram and other things. And because I've had so much to deal with going on in my personal life, I've not been as forthcoming when it comes to doing irrigation and stuff like that, because obviously I've not been near a bathroom, or my IBS has been flaring, and obviously I've needed to be near the bathroom, and it's just kind of like hit a plateau. I've been spending more time away from my house, and I've just been really busy with appointments and things like that. So things like irrigation and stuff just kind of got put on the back burner, because it's really hard work to maintain the NJ. I keep saying NJ because I'm used to having an NJ. It's really hard to keep on top of the PEGJ situation. So obviously you have to clean it around it, you have to advance it on the daily, and that I clean it twice a day, advance it once a day. You have to make sure you're flushing it, you have to make sure that you're attached to your feeds and things like that, and it's a lot of process, it's a lot of things to do. So to remember to do all that, plus take your medication, plus deal with kids and deal with animals, and go to appointments and stuff, it's a lot to kind of keep on top of. So I have been really busy with appointments, like I said, and it seems like as soon as I've got over it and I've got one day free, like it's weekend and I'm really busy at weekends trying to get the kids sorted out, ready for school again for Monday. And if you understand, because you're a busy mum yourself, then you would probably totally get where I'm coming from. But then try and throw in a bunch of chronic health issues on top of that, and yeah, it's a lot to manage. So sometimes things have to give, and because of that I hadn't done irrigation for a while. But obviously I'd been on antibiotics because my PEGJ just does not want to heal. So I went on antibiotics again, but this time via my tube, because since I've had my tube placed, I've been on antibiotics twice because of the amount of crap that's coming from it. So the first time they gave me antibiotics, they gave them me orally, and they were huge tablets, and I don't absorb them, so they didn't work. So I had to go back on antibiotics again. It was just starting to work and really working to getting things to ease off, and then I ran out of antibiotics. And then obviously I ended up in hospital. So I did irrigation. I think it was about a week. I want to say a week. About a week since I'd previously done irrigation, and I was fine. Now normally when I do irrigation, I will end up with like an air pocket around where my appendix scar is. Now bearing in mind that my feeding tube is on top of a scar tissue as well, and obviously you have a lot of nerve endings at scar tissues and stuff, just bear that in mind just for a second. So normally I would end up with an air pocket around my appendix scar, and I would end up with a bit of a crampy pain around there after I've done irrigation, because air tends to build up, which is very valid considering the fact that your irrigation cleans out your colonal area of your bottom, basically. So it basically cleans out your large intestine to a degree, which means that air pockets are very common. Now for somebody like me who has IBS and does not dispel air very well on their own, air pockets are very common in me, so I'm used to that. But because I hadn't done irrigation in about a week or so, I ended up with a similar pain about 2 inches to the left and a bit higher up to my PEGJ, and it was to the left of that. So I was like, it's probably just an air pocket, it's probably fine, it's probably nothing, and I kind of dismissed it. every time I used my tube and I was getting fed through my tube, or I was putting flushes through my tube, or I was advancing my tube, this pain would heighten, especially upon laying down. So if you're a medical professional and you want to know, like, you know, well, why is it only happening worse when you're laying down? Please let me know, because my doctors are useless and, you know, I'll get to that. But so yeah, it was worsening when I was laying down, especially when I was running feed. And it was just really annoying. So 4 days into this, by the Monday, I was only running water at this point, because the feed I thought was too thick, and that was probably why it was causing more pain. So I decided to run water through. And at first, the water, every time since I've laid on my left side, since I've had my PEGJ, if I lay on my left side in bed, my machine will scream like there's occlusion in my, or the tube's kinked or something, there's an occlusion somewhere. And I can never find it, so it's not on the external part. And that's been ever since I had the tube fitted, so I was like, that's weird. But when I've run water, like, you can kink the tube and everything, but because water's so thin, it'll go around the kink and it won't occlude. But on the night before I went into hospital, when for some reason when I laid on my left side, it occluded my tube, and I thought that was very odd. But eventually I had to stop the feeds halfway through, and I had to stop the water halfway through, because the pain would become so unbearable. And even now I'll still get the pain regardless of whether I use my tube or not. I still get the pain. So we know it's not tubal related, which I'll explain now. So I went to the hospital because it was Bank Holiday Monday. I'd called my tube nurses. They said pain that starts suddenly is obviously a massive red flag. You could have peritonitis. I explained that I'd had my tube for 10 weeks. It couldn't have been that. They said, no, it can happen at a time. Go to hospital. So I eventually ended up at the hospital. I wasn't expected to be kept in, but because I was told I couldn't use my tube, and that's where I get my hydration from, they kept me in for hydration purposes and for a tubogram the following day, which I got. I also got told that they were going to do an MRI of my biliary system within 2 or 3 days of me being admitted, because of the fact that my bile ducts upon CT scan showed that they were dilated. Now, I've had my gallbladder removed back in 2007, and every now and again when they've done blood tests, they've said your LFTs are a little bit elevated and we don't know why. Hopefully they'll correct themselves, and they have done. They've always corrected themselves, and I'm not really sure why that would happen. But obviously, having this pain, they did me a CT and they said, like, your tube seems to be in the right place. It seems to be working okay. There doesn't seem to be any blockages, but the tubogram will tell us more. And, you know, but your bile ducts are dilated and your LFTs, in the doctor's words, are funky, which basically meant that they were elevated. I had mild elevation of my CRP, which is my inflammatory markers. But apart from that, like, everything else was coming back okay. So I thought, well, you know, it's only been 4 days since I had this pain. Probably things have been caught early. Like, this is good, but at the same time, it could also be bad. I got kept in hospital for 4 days, and then got discharged on the basis of my tubogram showed that my tube was in the right place and was working, which I'd already told them that it was in the right place and working. I already knew this because it's been working. It's just been causing pain. I got told by radiography from my tubogram that my bowel, my small intestine in particular, had some very sharp bends in it, and that could have been an important factor. That got dismissed. But as far as I'm aware, early hours of the day that I got dismissed, the doctor came to me because I had to stop my feed. And a doctor came to me and he said, your report for the tubogram hasn't come through yet. And within 4 hours of being told that, apparently my tubogram was fine. Like, though they had the report, and chances are they didn't have the full report, but because it looked okay, they presumed it was okay. They said that they were going to send me for an MRI with regards to my biliary ducts as an outpatient, but because I'd had my gallbladder out previously many years ago, it's probably something that's normal for me, having bile ducts that kind of dilate from time to time, even though I do get intermittent pain when that happens, especially around my liver. And when I went back on the Friday for refeeding blood, because obviously I'd started back on feeds again after a few days of not having them, I explained to them that I'd spoken to my rectal irrigation nurse who mentioned that there could be a pseudo obstruction, because when they saw on the CT that I had sharp bends in my bowel, they also saw that there was stool black up into my small intestine, which is very odd considering the fact that I'd done irrigation anyway, and I'd been doing irrigation throughout that weekend, and obviously nothing was moving down. So I mentioned this to the doctor who was seeing me in the surgical assessment unit, and she told the consultant that had discharged me what I'd said, and they were like, yeah, but her tubogram's fine. But that's not what I asked, because a tubogram looks at the flow of the feeding tube and not looks for the pseudo obstruction type things in the bowel. And obviously a lot of tests when you have pseudo obstruction will come back normal, so it's very hard to diagnose a pseudo obstruction, and obviously it's usually down to a colorectal doctor to diagnose things like pseudo obstructions, because they deal with the bowel more than an upper GI doctor who deals with things like gastroparesis, gastroesophageal reflux disease and things like that. So it got dismissed, and I basically got discharged on the basis of, this is neurodivergent pain and it's pain that I'm just going to have to learn to live with. I told my GP this a week later, and I got told that it wasn't good enough and they should have been looking at more at the reason why my biliary ducts were dilated, and that living with pain is not something that you should tell patients. When I spoke to my dietitian the same day, she said, I told her what my doctor had said, because they told me to go back to A&E. And I said I refuse to go back to A&E because I don't want to go and sit down for hours on end to be told that it's nothing and to be discharged on the basis that I should just go home and deal with it because I'm more in tune with my body. I've had that a million times before, and I became very anxious about it to the point where I didn't want to leave my house, and I don't want to get to that point again. And she agreed and said that because of the way the NHS is currently, that doctors at the moment are more interested on emptying beds rather than dealing with patients that come in with acute pain or even chronic pain, and therefore they're getting dismissed a lot more than they should do. So she told me it's probably better that I wait to see my GI doctor for a follow-up after having my tube placed, which could be in a week, could be 2 weeks, could be 4 weeks, could be a month, could be a year, could be whenever. I don't know when this follow-up's going to take place. So in the meantime, I am currently living with pain in my abdomen, and it makes no difference what time I feed or anything like that. Like if I go on my feed mid-morning, mid-afternoon, like I'm not on it at the moment, where normally I'd be on it by now. I'm not on it, and I go on it for at least 8 hours, and I've increased my feed rate because during the day the pain isn't as noticeable, but then over night time when I go to bed, that pain flares up something woeful, and my tube is usually not in use. So yeah, that is complicated, and it's really annoying, and I don't know when I'm going to have a follow-up. So the plan now is to contact the colorectal surgeons and find out where I am on their list with regards to my MRI proctogram, and hope that that's going to be done soon. If it's not going to be done soon, I have to go back to my GP, who I saw the other day, and he's going to try and expedite it so it's done a lot quicker. And obviously because of everything else that's going on in my life at the moment, it's been found that my vitamin D level is low. I'm probably too low now, because it was 25. He told me it was 25 when I last had it checked, and that was a year ago or over a year ago. And I was told to get on vitamin D supplements then, and the doctor never prescribed me them. So I was told that chances are the pain could be inhibited because my vitamin D level is very low. And the other side of it is that because I'm dealing with a lot of stress in my life right now, and because obviously I have a tract that is in my stomach, I'm getting radiated neurodivergent pain from the tract itself, which is causing like a stitch-like shooting pain, because sometimes the pain is where I say it is, like it's in the upper left quadrant, about 2-3 inches away from my stoma site, but sometimes it actually feels like it's actually on my stoma site, which means that the nerves are kind of getting angry and irritated. And this can happen. You'll find yourself, like, if you'd have broke an ankle or whatever, then you're really stressed out about it, you can't really do anything about it, you'll find that your pain is worse when you're stressed about it because you're thinking about it. So the way that the doctor kind of analysed this, which is totally like unbelievable, but it's kind of believable, but it's not. Think of the worst football team in the world. So, you know, like somebody that you would never ever think to win an FA Cup final. I'm just going to pick 2 teams, which are probably random teams, so don't come at me with like abundance, because, you know, people probably have won the FA Cup final with these teams, but these are the only things that come into my head. So think of something like a small team. So I'm going to go with trying to think of one now. Think of something like Birmingham FC playing someone like Aston Villa or Manchester United, and Birmingham FC haven't won the cup or haven't gone the FA final in ever, and they are winning the team by, I don't know, like 7-0, and which is shocking, right? Because obviously Aston Villa, Manchester United, like big teams, and they're losing by 7-0, and it's like, okay, so all of a sudden there's an incident on the pitch and 2 players have come back down on the field and they both have the same injury. They've both torn a ligament or they've both done some damage to the knee or whatever, but it's the exact same injury. And the person that is winning from Birmingham FC decides, this is the best game that I've ever played in my life and I am fine to go back out on the field regardless of my pain, regardless of my injury, and I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to be there for this winning match. But the person from the Manchester City or Aston Villa game is like, I can't believe we're losing to such a small team, like this is terrible, like I'm having the worst day of my life, and their pain is just too much, too unbearable, and they just don't want to go out on the pitch anymore, and they just want to sit out and think, I don't want to be there when we lose, like I just want to be stretchered off. So this guy's getting stretchered off, the other guy's like, no, I'm fine, I'm just going to jump it off, like I'm just going to run it away, and they go out. It's a bit like if someone was in a car accident and they had broken their leg and they get out of the car and they have adrenaline running through the veins because they've just had a car crash and they're hopping around and they're fine and they just think they're in a little bit of pain. But as soon as that adrenaline wears off, their pain comes with a vengeance and they crash. So think of it as you're the happiest person in the world and you've got full of adrenaline and everything's great, you're not in that much pain. But when you're having a really crappy time and you have that no adrenaline and there's nothing coursing through your veins like serotonin or dopamine or anything like that to keep you happy, then you're going to end up in pain and your pain is going to heighten and get worse. I probably analyze that and cause an anagram of that or an analogy of that and done it completely wrong. But the basis is that if you're in a very happy place, then chances are you're not going to feel as much pain as if you were in a very dark, deep, depressive state, because your body responds to pain in different ways depending on your mood and your senses. So if you've got really heightened senses and you're really happy and you kind of like running on adrenaline and you've been very busy, you don't notice the pain. So during the day, when I'm busy and I'm got things to focus on, like the TV or the kids or the dogs or filming for you guys or, you know, going out to go and get some shopping or whatever, I don't notice the pain as much as I do when I've calmed down, I'm in bed and I'm chilling out and I'm trying to go to sleep, because my body is now relaxed, and at the most relaxed state is when I'm going to end up in the worst pain. So yeah, that is what I'm trying to say. So the doctor was like, stress could heighten this pain because you're thinking about it more of a nighttime than what you would do during the day, because during the day you're kept busy by your mind, by things that are occupying you, where over nighttime you have nothing. like literally nothing to occupy you. You have just you in a dark room going to sleep. And you're trying to focus on going to sleep, and your body's playing up and going, actually, no, I'm not going to let you because you're in pain. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So there's a couple of elements that could be heightening my pain. In no means is the pain non-appliant. So basically in no way is the pain non-existent. There is pain there. And it's coming from somewhere. It's just made worse when I'm relaxing. And so when I'm running around, like I know it's there, I can feel it's there even during the day, but I don't notice it as much because I'm busy. But I notice it more when I lay down, and that's a problem. So like my doctor said, he was like, I'm not saying that this pain is not there. Like this pain will be there because you've had a stab thing in your stomach. You've been basically stabbed in your stomach, and it's on a scar tissue, and there's more nerves in scar tissue because obviously it's been trying to heal things, so the nerves kind of clump towards it. So you're probably feeling the pain of when you first had this procedure done, more so because your tract is trying to heal still, and because of the fact that you have inflammation around that area that is causing your nerves to shoot off pain, because your body knows there's something wrong with it. And that's basically the gist of it. So it could be coming from my biliary ducts, it could be coming from a small stone in my pancreas, or it could be coming from a kidney stone, it could be coming from anything. But chances are, or it could be coming from a pseudo-obstruction, but chances are the only reason it's made worse when I'm laying down and I'm resting is because of the fact that I'm resting, and I don't notice it much during the day because I'm kept busy by things occupying my mind. Along with the fact that my vitamin D is very low. So yeah. So yeah, there's been a lot of things going on, and my mental health at the moment is not great. Like it really is not great. I'll smile, I'll laugh, I'll joke with people, but my mental health is not great right now, and that is why I've not been on, and that is why I'm quiet online, and that is why because I'm dealing with so much right now. Getting used to obviously having a hole in my stomach, getting used to the fact that my bowel system or my colorectal system is not working as well as it should do either. Yeah, I've not really got a lot going on at the moment that is making me happy or that I've got to look forward to. So at the moment, my life is just getting used to things that I thought I would never have to get used to. So yeah, it does heighten pain, and yeah, it does cause more problems, and it stops, obviously you're not sleeping because you're in pain, and that obviously heightens stress even more because you're not sleeping, and it causes your mental health to fall again because you're not sleeping. So it's a vicious cycle, but I will get there because I always get there. So yeah, don't be worrying about me. I am safe, I'm well, but I just have this pain, don't know where it's coming from, and as most NHS doctors or most doctors around the world come to that, are dismissing patients that are chronically ill because with the mind frame of, well, you're more in tune with your body, so therefore you're going to feel things that most people wouldn't. They're not wrong, but at the same time they're not right, because it's just their excuse of dismissing the patient when they don't really know what the hell is going on. So yeah, my plan now is to contact the colorectal waiting list, find out where I am on the MRI proctogram scale. If it's going to be months and months and months before I get it done, then I've got to contact my GP to get it expedited, and hopefully then figure out what the hell's going on that side of things. And then hopefully we can try and figure out what's going on with this pain. But in the meantime, I am to do some meditation, especially over night time when I'm going to bed, and try and relax myself in a better mindful state, to occupy myself before I go to bed. So like read a book, or listen to mindful music, or white noise or whatever, to try and help me get to sleep, and also to take vitamin D supplements in order to boost that up, so that we can see whether it is playing a part and playing a role on that. So yeah, that's the plan. So thank you for watching. I'm really sorry that this has probably been the most boring videos ever, but it is a quick update of why I've not been around, and you know, that I've been in hospital again, and this is just the life of a chronically health illness person. My brain's not working, so I'm gonna go. But yeah, thank you for watching if you've got this far, and thank you for all your support as always. I know I keep saying I'm gonna try and be more consistent, but life has a way of getting in the way of that, so I'm apologizing. But thank you for following. I love you guys, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.